Hello, beautiful people. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another Read With Me session. I'm yours truly, Isabel, and I'm here to read an amazing, amazing chapter on the compound effect. And I'm super excited to be here with every single one of you. This book is amazing, and I'm so excited to be reading it with you. We're going to be going until about 30 minutes in this particular session, and then we're going to continue in the next video, the rest of this session, okay? So let's dive right into it. It's going to be chapter number 1, the compound effect in action. You know that expression, slow and steady wins the race? Ever heard the story of the tortoise and the hare? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the tortoise. Give me enough time and I will beat virtually anybody, anytime, in any competition. Why? Not because I'm the best or the smartest or the fastest. I won because of the positive habits I've developed, along with the consistency I use in applying those habits. I'm the world's biggest believer in consistency. I'm living proof that it's the ultimate key to success. Yet it's one of the biggest pitfalls for people struggling to achieve. Most people don't know how to sustain it. I do. I have my father to thank for. In essence, he was my first coach for igniting the power of the compound effect. My parents divorced when I was 18 months old, and my dad raised me as a single father. He wasn't exactly the soft, nurturing type. He was a formal university coach, football coach, and he hardwired me for achievement. Thanks to Dad, wake-up calls were at 6 o'clock every morning, and not by a loving tap on the shoulder or even the sound of a radio alarm, no. I was awakened each morning by the repetitious driving sound of iron pounding on the concrete floor in our garage, situated next to my bedroom. It was like waking up 12 feet from a construction zone. He'd painted this huge no pain, no gain sign on the wall of the garage, which he stared at while he was doing countless old school strongman deadlifts, power cleans, lunges, and squats. Rain, sleet, or shine, Dad was out there in his shorts and tattered sweatshirt. He never missed a day. And you could set your watch by his routine. I had more chores than a housekeeper and gardener put together. Upon returning from school, there was always a list of instructions to greet me. Pull the weeds, rake the leaves, sweep the garage, dust, vacuum the dishes, you name it. And getting behind in school wasn't even tolerated. That's just the way it was. Dad was the original no excuses type of guy. We weren't ever allowed to stay home from school sick unless we were actually puking, bleeding, or even showing some bone. The term showing bone came from his coaching days. His players knew they weren't allowed to come out of the game unless they were seriously injured. And one time his quarterback asked to be pulled out the game and Dad said, "Not unless you're showing bone." And then the quarterback pulled back his shoulder pads, and sure enough, his collarbone was showing. Only then was he allowed to come off the field. One of Dad's core philosophies was, it doesn't matter how smart you are or aren't, you need to make up in hard work what you lack in experience, skill, intelligence, or even innate ability. If your competitor is smarter, talented, or even more experienced, you simply need to work 3 to 4 times harder, and you can still beat them. No matter what the challenge, he taught me to make it up in hard work whenever I might be at disadvantage. Miss free throws at a game? Do 1,000 free throws every day for a month. Not good at dribbling with your left hand? Tie your right hand back behind your back and dribble 3 hours a day. Behind in your math? Hunker down, hire a tutor, and work like hell all summer until you get it. No excuses. If you aren't good at something, work harder, work smarter. He walked his talk too. Dad went from being a football coach to a top salesperson. From there, he became the boss and ultimately went on to own his own company. But I wasn't given loads of instruction. From the beginning, Dad let us figure it out. He was all about taking personal responsibility. He didn't hammer on us every night about homework. We just had to show up with the results. And when you did, you were celebrated. If you earned good grades, Dad took us to Prings, an ice cream parlor where you could get these king banana splits, 6 scoops of ice cream, and all the fixings. Many times my siblings didn't fare as well in school, so they didn't even get to go. Getting to go was a big deal, so you worked your butt off to win the trip. Dad's discipline served as an example for me. Dad was my idol, and I wanted him to be proud of me. I also lived in fear of disappointing him. One of his philosophies was be the guy who says no. It's no great achievement to go along with the crowd. Be the unusual guy, be the exception. The inspiration for my company's tagline today, be the exception. That's why I never did drugs. He never harped on me about it, but I didn't want to be that guy who just went along because everyone else was doing it, and I didn't want to let that down. Thanks to Dad, by age 12, I'd mastered a schedule worthy of the most efficient CEO. Sometimes I gripped and moaned. I mean, I was a kid, but even then I secretly liked knowing that I had an edge over my classmates. Dad gave me a serious head start on the discipline and mentality that it actually takes to be dedicated to and be responsible to achieve whatever I set out to achieve. Dad and I joked about what an addictive overachiever he trained me to be. At 18, I was making a 6-figure income in my own business. By age 20, I owned my own home in an upscale neighborhood. By the age of 24, my income grew to $1 million a year. And by age 27, I was officially a self-made millionaire with a business that brought in more than $50 million in revenue. And today I have more money and assets to last my family the rest of my life. There are lots of ways to screw up a kid, Dad would say, and at least my way was a pretty good one. You seem to have done pretty well. So while I admit I've had to practice sitting on my hands and being present in the moment or chilling out peacefully in a beach chair from time to time without taking a pile of business books or self-improvement audios with me, I am grateful for the success skills I learned from my dad and my other mentors along the way. The compound effect reveals the secret behind my success. I'm a true believer in the compound effect because Dad made sure that I lived it each and every day until I couldn't live any other way if I tried. But if you're like most people, you're not a true believer. There are lots of perfectly understandable reasons why. You haven't had the same coaching and examples showing you what to do. You haven't experienced the payoff of the compound effect. As a society, we have been deceived. We've been hypnotized by commercial marketing which convinces you of problems you don't have and sells you on the idea of insta fixes to cure them. And we've been socialized to believe in the fairy tale endings found in movies and novels. We've lost sight of the good old-fashioned value of hard work and consistent work. So let's examine these hurdles one by one. I love that he talks about the commercial marketing because it's so true. Have you ever looked at someone anywhere, literally, and seen what they're doing on their phone? Like they just scroll. It's intense, right? You haven't experienced the payoff of the compound effect. Here it is why. The compound effect is the principle of reaping huge rewards from a series of small, smart choices. What's most interesting about this process to me is that even though the results are massive, the steps in the moment don't feel significant. Whether you're using the strategy for improving your health, relationship, finances, or anything else that matter, the changes are so subtle that they're almost imperceptible. These small changes offer little or no immediate result, no big win, no obvious I told you so, so why bother? Most people get tripped up by the simplicity of the compound effect. And for instance, they quit after the 8th day of running because they're still overweight, or they stop practicing the piano after 6 months because they haven't mastered anything other than chopsticks, or they stop making contributions to their IRA after a few years because they could use that cash. And it doesn't seem to be adding up in any type of way. What they don't realize is that these small, seemingly insignificant steps completed consistently over time will create a radical difference. And let me give you a few examples to show you how. And he has this formula: small, smart choices plus consistency plus time equals radical difference. Small, smart choices plus consistency plus time equals radical difference. Here's the magic penny. If you were given a choice between $3 million in cash this very instant and a single penny that doubles in value every day for 31 days, which one would you choose? If you've heard this before, you know that the penny gambit is a choice you should make. You know it's the course that will lead to greater wealth. Yet, why is it so hard to believe choosing the penny will result in more money in the end? Because it takes so much longer to see the payoff. Let's take a closer look. Let's say that you take the cold hard cash and your friend goes the penny route. On day 5, your friend has 16 cents. You, however, have 3 million. On day 10, it's $5.12 versus your big bucks. How do you think your friend feels about her decision? You're spending your millions, enjoying the heck out of it, and loving your choice. And after 20 full days, with only 11 days left, Penny Lane has $5,243. How is she feeling about herself at this point? For all her sacrifice and positive behavior, she has barely more than $5,000. You, however, have $3 million. Then the invisible magic of the compound effect starts to become visible. The same small mathematical growth improvements each day makes the compound penny worth $10,737,418.24. That's on day 31, more than 3 times your 3 million. On this example, we see why consistency over time is so important. On day 29, you've got your $3 million. Penny Lane has around 2.7 million. It isn't until day 30 or of this 31-day race that she pulls ahead with 5.3 million, and it isn't until the very last day of this month-long ultra marathon that your friend blows you out of the water. She ends up with the 10.7 million compared to your 3 million. And very few things are as impressive as the magic of compounding pennies. And amazingly, this force is equally powerful in every area of your life. Here's another example. 3 friends. Let's take 3 buddies who all grew up together. They live in the same neighborhood with very similar sensibilities. Each makes around 50 grand a year. They're all married and they have average health and body weight, plus a little bit of dreaded marriage flab. Friend number 1, let's call him Larry, plods along doing as he's always done. He's happy, or he thinks he is, but he complains occasionally that nothing ever changes. Friend number 2, Scott, starts making some small, seemingly inconsequential positive changes. He begins reading 10 pages of a good book per day and listening to about 30 minutes of something instructional or inspirational on his commute to work. Scott wants to see changes in his life, but doesn't want to make a fuss over it. And he recently started listening to the Darren Daily On Demand podcast and chose one idea from a recent episode to implement into his life. He's going to cut 125 calories from his diet every day. No big deal. Literally, we're just talking maybe a cup of cereal less, trading that can of soda for a bottle of water, for a bottle of seltzer, which switching from mayo to mustard on his sandwich, all of it, it's doable. He's also starting walking a couple thousand. He's also started walking a couple thousand extra steps per day, less than a mile. No grand acts of bravery or effort, but stuff anyone can do. Scott is determined to stick with these choices, knowing that even though they're simple, he could also easily be tempted to abandon them. Friend number 3, Brad, makes a few poor choices. He recently bought a new big screen TV so he could watch more of his favorite programs. He's been trying out the recipes he's seen on the Food Network. The cheesy casseroles and desserts are his favorites. Oh, and he installed a bar in his family room and added 1 alcoholic drink per week to his diet. Nothing crazy. Brad just wants to have a little fun and relax at home a bit more during the week. At the end of the 5 months, no perceivable differences exist between Larry, Scott, or Brad. Scott continues to read a little bit every night and listen to audios during his commute. Brad is enjoying life and doing less. Larry keeps doing as he always has. And even though each man has his own pattern of behavior, 5 months isn't long enough to see any real decline or improvement in their situations. And in fact, if you compared the weight of the three men, you'd see a rounding error of 0. They look exactly equal. At the end of the 10 months, we still can't see noticeable changes in any of their lives. It's not until we get to the end of the 18th month, 18 months, that the slightest differences are measurable in these three friends' appearances. But at the month 25, we start seeing really measurable visual differences. At month 27, we see an expansive difference. And by month 31, the changes is startling. Brad is now fat, while Scott is trim. By simply cutting 125 calories a day in 31 months, Scott has lost 33 pounds. And then he has this cool little formula here. Okay, 31 months is 940 days. 940 days times 125 calories per day, it's 117,000 calories. 1,017,500 calories, 1,017,500 calories divided by 3,500 calories per pound, it's 33.5 pounds. Brad ate only 125 calories more a day at the same time frame. He gained 33.5 pounds. Now he weighs 67 pounds more than Scott, but the differences are more significant than the weight. Scott has invested almost 1,000 hours reading good books and listening to self-improvement audios. By putting his newly gained knowledge into practice, he's earned a promotion and a raise, and best of all, his marriage is thriving. Brad, he's unhappy at work and his marriage is on the rocks. And Larry, well, Larry is pretty much exactly where he was two and a half years ago, except he's a little more bitter about it. The phenomenal power of the compound effect is that simple. The difference between people who employ the compound effect for their benefit compared to their peers who only allow the same effect to work against them is almost inconceivable. It looks miraculous. It's like magic or quantum leaps. After 31 months, 31 years, after 31 months or even 31 years, the person who uses the positive nature of the compound effect appears to be on the overnight success path. In reality, his or her profound success was the result of small, smart choices completed consistently over time. Yeah. Here comes the ripple effect. The result in the above example seems dramatic, I know, but it goes even deeper than that. The reality is that even one small change can have a significant impact that causes an unexpected and unintended ripple effect. Let's put one of Brad's bad habits under the microscope, eating rich food more frequently, to better understand how the compound effect can also work in a negative way, and we can create a ripple effect that impacts your entire life. Brad makes some muffins from a recipe he learned from the Food Network. He's proud, his family loves it, and it seems to add value all around. He starts making them and other sweets frequently. He loves his own cooking and eats more than his share, but not so much that anyone notices. However, the extra food makes Brad sluggish at night. He wakes up a little groggy, which makes him cranky. The crankiness and sleep deprivation begin to impact his work performance. He's less productive, and as a result, gets discouraging feedback from his bosses. By the end of the day, he feels dissatisfied with his job and his energy level is way down. The commute home seems longer and more stressful than ever, and all of this makes him reach for more comfort food. Stress has a way of doing that. The overall lack of energy makes Brad less likely to take walks with his wife like he used to. He just doesn't feel like it. She misses their time together and takes his withdrawal personally. With fewer shared activities with his wife and And an absence of fresh air and exercise, Brad's not getting the endorphins release that had helped him make him feel upbeat and enthusiastic. And because he's not as happy, he starts finding fault with himself and others and stops complimenting his wife. As his own body starts to feel flabby, he feels less self-confident and less attractive and becomes less romantic. Brad doesn't realize how his lack of energy and affection towards his wife is affecting her. He just knows that he feels in a funk. He starts losing himself in late night TV because it's easy and distracting. Feeling his distance, Brad's wife starts to complain, then she becomes needy. When that doesn't work, she emotionally withdraws herself to protect herself. She's lonely. She pours her energy into work and spends more time with her girlfriends to fulfill her need for companionship. Men start flirting with her, which makes her feel desirable again. She would never cheat on Brad, but he has a feeling something's wrong. And instead of seeing that his poor choices and behaviors are at the root of their problems, he finds fault with his wife. Believing that the other person is wrong rather than looking inside and doing the work necessary to clean up your mess is basic psychology 101 stuff. In Brad's case, he doesn't know to look inside. They don't offer self-improvement relationship advice on Top Chef or his favorite crime shows. The thought doesn't occur to him that if he had read that personal development book his buddy Scott reads, he might have learned about ways to change his negative habits. And unfortunately for Brad, the small choices he made on a daily basis created a ripple that wreaked havoc on every area of his life. And of course, all of the calorie counting and intellectual stimulation has had the opposite effect with Scott, who's now reaping the bounty of positive results. This is the repeating of simple daily disciplines versus simple errors in judgment. It's that simple. With enough time and consistency, the outcomes become visible. Better yet, they're totally predictable. The compound effect is predictable and measurable, and that's great news. Isn't it comforting to know that you only need to take a series of tiny steps consistently over time to radically improve your life? Doesn't that sound easier than mustering up some grand show of bravery and heroic strength only to wear yourself out and have to drum up all the energy again at a later date for another try? Which will likely be unsuccessful. I'm exhausted just thinking about it, but that's what people do. And we've been conditioned by society to believe in the effectiveness of a great display of massive effort. Heck, it's downright all-American. See figure this. You have the three guys. I think this is Brad, but this is the guy that stayed the same and he's bitter. This is the guy that read every single day and applied a new habit. 27 months. Look at the difference. The beauty of the compound effect is in its simplicity. Notice how on the left-hand side of the diagram, the results are intangible, but how powerfully they differ later on. The behaviors all along the way are exactly the same, but the magic of the compound effect usually kicks in to bring massive differences in results. That's powerful. That's so powerful. That's beautiful. That's really powerful. And with the next video, we're going to go into success old school. Actually, let me see if I can finish it off here. Success old school. The most challenging aspect of the compound effect is that we have to keep working away for a while, consistently and effectively and efficiently, before we begin to see the payoff. Our grandparents knew this, though they didn't spend their evenings glued to the TV watching infomercials about how they have thin thighs in 30 days or real estate kingdoms in 6 months. Back in the day, most people worked 6 days a week from sunup to sundown, and the secret to success was then, and is now, hard work, discipline, and good habits. It's interesting that wealth tends to skip a generation. Overwhelmingly, abundance often leads to a lackadaisical mentality, which brings about a sedentary lifestyle. Children of the wealthy are especially susceptible. They weren't the ones who developed the discipline and character to create the wealth in the first place. So it makes sense that they may not have the sense of value for wealth or understand what is necessary to keep it. We frequently see this entitlement mentality in children of royalty, movie stars, or even corporate executives, and to a lesser degree in children and adults everywhere. As a nation, our entire populace seems to have lost appreciation for the value of a strong work ethic. We've had 3 or 4 generations of Americans who have known great prosperity, wealth, and ease. Our expectations of what it really takes to create lasting success, things like grit, hard work, and fortitude, aren't alluring and thus have been mostly forgotten. We've lost respect for the strife, the struggle of our forefathers, the massive effort they put forth, instilled discipline, chiseled their character, and stoked the spirit to brave new frontiers. The truth is, complacency has impacted all great empires, including, but not limited to, the Egyptians, Greeks, Romans, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and English. Why? Because nothing fails like success. Once dominant empires have failed for this very reason. People get to a certain level of success, and then they get too comfortable. Having experienced extended periods of prosperity, health, and wealth, they become complacent. And we stop doing what we did to get us there. We become like the frog in the boiling water, and that doesn't jump to his freedom because the warming is so incremental and insidious that he doesn't notice he's getting cooked. And if we want to succeed, we need to recover our grandparents' work ethic. It's time to restore our character. If it's not for the sake of saving America, at least for our own greater success and achievement. Don't buy into the genie in the lamp idea. You can sit on your couch waiting to attract checks into your mailbox, rub crystals together, walk on fire, channel that 2,000-year-old guru, or chant affirmations if you want to. But much of that is hocus pocus commercialism, manipulating you by appealing to your weaknesses. Real and lasting success requires work and lots of it. I have a story to illustrate this nothing feels like success concept. And a great new restaurant opened up close to my home on the beach of San Diego. In the beginning, the place was always immaculate. The hostess has a big welcoming smile for everyone. The service was impeccable. The manager came over and assured it. The food was sensational. Soon, people started lining up to eat there and would often wait more than an hour to be seated. Then, unfortunately, the restaurant staff began to take its success for granted. The hostess became a little snooty. The service staff disheveled and curt. And then food quality became hit or miss. The place was out of business within 18 months. They failed because of their success. Or rather, because they stopped doing what made them successful to begin with. Their success clouded their perspective and they slacked off. Wow. And then we're going to get into the microwave mentality. Actually, I think I can knock it out the park. I have like 2 more minutes. Microwave mentality. Understanding the compound effect will rid you of instant result expectations. The belief success should be as fast as your fast food, your 1-hour glasses, your 30-minute photo processing, your overnight mail, your microwave eggs, your instant hot water and text messaging. Enough. Okay. Promise yourself that you're going to go once and for all of your lottery winner expectations, because let's face it, you only hear the stories about the one winner, not the millions of losers. And that person that you see jumping up and down in front of the Las Vegas slot machine or holding that big check on TV, they don't reveal the hundreds of times that same person lost. If you go back to our mathematical chance of positive result, again, we have a rounding error of 0, as in you have about 0 chance of winning. Harvard psychologist Daniel Gilbert, author of the Stumbling on Happiness book, says that if we gave lottery losers each 30 seconds on TV to announce that I have not won, but I have lost, it would take almost 9 years to get through the losers of only one single drawing. When you understand how the compound effect works, you won't pine for quick fixes or silver bullets. Don't try to fool yourself into believing that a mega successful athlete didn't live through regular bone crushing drills and thousands of hours of practice. She got up early to practice and kept practicing long after all others had stopped. She faced the sheer agony and frustration of the failure, loneliness, hard work, and disappointment it took to become number one. And by the end of this book, or even before, I want you to know in your bones that your only path to success is through a continuum of mundane, unsexy, unexciting, and sometimes difficult daily disciplines compounded over time. And know, too, that the results, the life, and the lifestyle of your dreams can be yours when you put the compound effect to work for you. If you use the principles outlined in the compound effect, you will create a fairy tale ending. So, have I made my point? Good. Join the next chapter where we will focus on the one factor that controls your life. Every victory or defeat, triumph or failure has started with this. Everything you have or don't have in your life right now has been because of this. Learn to change this and you can change your life forever. Let's discover what this is. And it's going to be chapter number 2, choices. And I'm so excited to go into chapter number 2 with all of you. I have a meeting to run to, and I'm so excited because this book just pumps you up. So see you in the next one. Talk to you soon. Bye.